Did you know Aya was supposed to be the main character for Assassin's Creed Origins? Or perhaps Desmond's story was completely different to what it is now? Well, in this video, I'm going to go over 5 things that were originally cut from the Assassin's Creed games. If you want me to make a part 2 of this, just drop a like on this video, which will let me know because there's so many more things that were removed. So with that said, let's get into it. So let's start off with something that could be considered completely game changing, and that is that Aya was originally meant to be the main character for Assassin's Creed Origins. So I'm sure we all know that Bayek is the main character, and he formed the Hidden Ones along with his wife Aya. But what's interesting is that Aya wasn't actually meant to be a secondary character. You see, the original plan consisted of Bayek actually being killed off early in the game, which would then give Aya the main spotlight as the playable female protagonist. However, the reasoning for this being cut out from the actual game is because of the marketing department, as well as Serge Hascoe, who, let me tell you, is a complete piece of shit. So it's a good riddance that he's resigned from Ubisoft. Anyway, he and the marketing department forced the writers to change it from Aya to Bayek. The reason for this? Well, let's just say the thought of a female protagonist did not bode well, which is why most of the Assassin's Creed protagonists now are male. Now, personally, I did not really mind Aya being the main protagonist. After all, if this happened, Bayek wouldn't be one of my favourite characters in the series. But the reasoning is pretty unfortunate. The crazy thing about this is that it's not the first time that this has happened. Did you also know that Evie was meant to play a more pivotal role in Assassin's Creed Syndicate? But once again, Serge Hascoe shut down the idea, and his reasoning was simply, women don't sell. Yikes. So we know the original Assassin's Creed was the first project Ubisoft released for Assassin's Creed, but did you know Assassin's Creed 1 was supposed to have a co-op feature? According to Ubisoft's technical director at the time, Julien Merceron, he stated that the original game was intended to include a multiplayer mode. And what's interesting is that the game actually shipped out with a bug which allowed players to potentially discover certain multiplayer aspects or certain elements of this multiplayer functionality. Merceron also revealed that if a second controller was connected to the console, a second altair would appear. It's pretty silly at the same time because the development team did not even test these features during development, and they just assumed that they would be disabled. So yeah, it's worth noting that Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was the first time a multiplayer mode was added, and then co-op made its debut in Assassin's Creed Unity. I can respect that Ubisoft attempted to incorporate multiplayer in some form early on during Assassin's Creed 1. Imagine it was a feature though. Who knows how that would have changed the exploration aspect of the game, especially regarding those feathers you'd collect. We all like Desmond Mars, right? I mean, for me, he's what made the modern day in the earlier games so enjoyable, and it's not the same as it is now. But did you know Desmond's story in Assassin's Creed was intended to be so incredibly different to what it is now? You see, Nolan North, who is the actor for Desmond Miles, shared in 2015 a very interesting concept during the development of the series. According to North, Ubisoft proposed the notion that after the events of each Assassin's Creed game that he's in, Desmond would obtain all of the abilities of the respective assassins, such as Altair's ability after the first game, and Ezio's following the second. This progression would then continue in subsequent games after. So the general idea was pretty much that Desmond was supposed to turn into this apparent incredible assassin that would have the skills of every assassin he goes into the memories of. The idea was that Desmond was intended to be incredibly powerful and then ultimately put an end to this whole Templars thing. However, this ambitious concept did not come to fruition as Desmond's character sadly got killed off in Assassin's Creed 3. I still hate that decision, by the way, and I bet Ubisoft regret that too, because the modern day now, oh boy, it's, well, no comment. Oh, and I'll play the clip of the Nolan North segment where he talks about it if you're interested. It's very interesting to listen to.
The original story, as it was written, it was Desmond goes on these adventures, and they said, we're probably going to do about 6 games, and each game Desmond will get, this was the original pitch, Desmond would get the abilities of his, okay, Altair, and now he has those, then it's Ezio, he has them, and then it's going to be this guy, and ultimately by the last game, he would be the ultimate assassin with all these and be able to time travel back. Well, I know. I listen. This was one person told me this, so I may be speaking out of school. But it was like that would be, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Because the first time I did that first game, I got to the end of the script, and like in a 4-hour session, I think it took about 2.5 hours, And they said, okay, that's all. They said, all right, thanks, Nolan. We're good. I said, and I turned the last page. And I said, I'm just going to get a cup of coffee and we'll start up again. And they looked at each other like, oh, that's it. Oh, what? This is awesome. What happens? And the writer goes, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, I haven't written it yet. I'm like, wait. And seriously, I was kind of angry. I was like, wait, we're done? You just left me. Imagine getting to the best part of a book or a movie and then the end. You're like, huh? You know, it was unbelievable, and I was so into it. I thought it was such a cool concept, such a cool story, and they just kind of dropped it.
Okay, now for the fourth thing that was originally intended to be in Assassin's Creed but got removed is something called Juno Events, and these were intended to be in Assassin's Creed Origins. We all know who Juno is, right? The ezio deity that was intended to originally take over the world. But then Ubisoft demoted her to the comic books and ended her story there. Well, did you know that Juno was apparently supposed to appear in Assassin's Creed Origins? So a while ago during Assassin's Creed Origins showing at Gamescom, there were icons that were labelled as Juno Events, and during this time of this announcement, I can remember so many YouTubers and gamers that were very hyped about Juno potentially returning. Well, that didn't exactly come to light, did it? When Assassin's Creed Origins was released, this supposed Juno Events thing was non-existent. In fact, Juno wasn't even mentioned at all during the entire game. So what exactly happened, and why did these Juno Events get removed? Well, the real answer is that those Trial of the Gods stuff that we know from Assassin's Creed Origins was intended to originally be called Juno Events. If you take a look at this screenshot, you can see a concept art for the game, and it seems like it's those Trials of the Gods stuff, right? Well, if you look at the URL link for the image, the words Juno Events is mentioned. So it's clear that the Trials of the Gods stuff was intended as Juno Events, but Ubisoft decided to just abandon that name. I can imagine it's because Juno wasn't even intended to be shown in Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, they could have done this because of the Assassin's Creed timeline, which we know is very confusing. You see, the modern day setting of Assassin's Creed Uprising comes before the events of Origins, and as they decided to give Juno a physical form in Uprising, it wouldn't have made much sense for her to appear in Origins. So she was removed entirely from the games. This just proves Ubisoft don't even know what they're doing themselves when it comes to the writings of these characters. Now here's a pretty cool one. It's both a mix of a feature that was removed and also an Easter egg, and it occurs in Assassin's Creed 1. So when you leave Masyaf for the very first time in Assassin's Creed and then travel to the path that leads to the other 3 cities, you can actually spot this specific character that, if you use your eagle vision, actually shows up red instead of the usual colour that highlights an NPC. It's very sketchy at first and it's pretty unusual, but the reasoning behind this certain individual is quite interesting. This person is actually a traitor that's called Jamal. He was the inside person that, along with another traitor named Masun, opened the gates for the Templars during the siege of Masyaf. If you assassinate this red highlighted person in secret, nothing at all will happen. However, if you straight up just attack him in the open, it will prompt other assassins nearby to intervene and attack you. The reasoning behind why he was removed from the original game is not explained. All we know is that this character was originally intended to be an assassination target during a mission, but that mission was unfortunately removed from the game, and then as a result, Ubisoft decided to just implement this little Easter egg. So as I'm currently creating this video, I figured I'd include this particular feature as a bonus because I found it pretty cool. And that is the removal of Connor's speech at the end of Assassin's Creed 3. It kind of reminds me of Ezio's Bonfire of Vanity speech that Ubisoft added into the remastered Ezio collection. So why they didn't add this into the Assassin's Creed 3 remaster is beyond me. It's a very emotional speech, and it highlights Connor's growth and reflection during the events of Assassin's Creed 3. And in my opinion, it would have made the ending a lot more fitting. Here's the speech if you want to listen to it.
My father left those for me. Mother, Father, I am sorry. I have failed you both. I made a promise to protect our people. I thought if I could stop the Templars, if I could keep the revolution free from their influence, that those I supported would do what was right. They did, I suppose, do what was right. What was right for them. As for you, Father, I thought I might unite us. That we would forget the past and forge a better future. In time, I believed you could be made to see the world as I did, to understand. But it was just a dream. This too I should have known. Were we not meant to live in peace then? Is that it? Are we born to argue? To fight? So many voices, each demanding something else. It has been hard at times, but never harder than today. To see all I worked for, perverted, discarded, forgotten. You would say I have described the whole of history, Father. Are you smiling then? Hoping I might speak the words you long to hear? To validate you? To say that all along you were right? I will not. Even now, faced as I am with the truth of your cold words, I refuse.
And that brings me to the end of the video. That is 5 things that were removed from the Assassin's Creed series. If you want me to create a part 2 of this, then just drop a like, so I know you want that. There's an abundance of features and things that were cut from the series, but these are just 5 that are picked out. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and with that said, I'll see you in the next one.